Hey everyone, Mr. Kaczynski here. We're still working in section Y, which is monomials of IXL's Algebra 1 skills. Skill 4 is multiply and divide monomials. So in skill 2, we multiplied monomials. In skill 3, we divided monomials. Now we're going to combine that all together. Okay, I'm going to do this one way, and then I'm going to come back and tell you there's a better way to do it. But at any rate, here we go. I'm going to do multiplication on top, then I'll divide by the 3d to the 8th. So I'm looking at 4 times 3 is 12, and d to the 7th times d to the 1st is d to the 8th. So it's 3d to the 8th over 12d to the 8th over 3d to the 8th. Now, we can simplify this a little bit more. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now, we could have probably noticed that right off the beginning. This is what I was saying. I was going to come back and tell you there's an easier way to do it. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So really all we had left was 4 to begin with anyway. So we could have skipped this whole 12 over 3 thing and just jumped straight to 4 over 1 maybe, or just 4 in the numerator. I'll do that on future occurrences. All right. Now, what about d to the 8th divided by d to the 8th? Well, that's d to the 0. But think about d to the 0, and we learned that anything raised to the 0 power is 1, so 4 times 1 is just 4. And this actually does a pretty good job of illustrating why anything raised to the 0 power is 1, because it's kind of like dividing a number by itself. D to the 8th divided by d to the 8th, it's obviously 1. 8 minus 8 is 0, so that's why d to the 0 power is 1. So our answer is just 4. All right, here's one that's all multiplication. Okay, so it's just 2r to the negative first times 7r to the 6th times 3r. Now, this is just a bunch of multiplication. We can do it in any order we want. So I'm going to do 2 times 7 times 3. In fact, since the top of my head, I'm not thinking very well about what 14 times 3 is. I'm going to do 7 times 3. That's 21, because then I know 21 times 2 is 42. Obviously, 14 times 3 is 42 as well, but that's how I chose to think about that. Now, what about r to the negative first times r to the 6th times to the 1st? So we're going to add up all those exponents. The thing I noticed right off the bat, though, is the negative 1 plus 1 is 0. So again, we're going to have r to the 0 right there. Those basically cancel themselves out, and that just leaves us with r to the 6th. All right, so 42r to the 6th. Next up, get back into that multiplication and division. I'm going to use my shortcut right here. I notice that 2 goes into 10 5 times, or maybe 10 divided by 2 is 5. That's another way to look at it. Let me make a small correction right here, by the way. That's supposed to be an A. Okay, so let's keep going here. Now I'm going to do my multiplication on top again. So 5 times 3 instead of 10 times 3 is 15. A to the 1st times a to the 8th is a to the 9th. Over, that 2's gone, it's just a 1 now, over a squared. So this will simplify to 15 times a to the 7th, because 15 divided by 1 is 15, and a to the 9th divided by a squared is a to the 7th. When you're doing division, you're supposed to subtract the exponents. So 15a to the 7th. A couple more examples. Oh boy, look at this. It's all multiplication, but it's a mess. Okay, let's take it piece by piece though. Math is a lot easier when you break it up into doable parts. So let's do 2 times 8 times 2. 16 times 2 is 32. All right, then q to the 4th times q. That would be q to the 5th because you add the 4 and the 1. Q to the 5th times q to the 5th is q to the 10th, because 5 plus 5 is 10. R cubed times r to the 4th, that would be r to the 7th, times another r would be r to the 8th, s times s to the 9th is s to the 10th, times another s would be s to the 11th, and one more here, t to the 4th times t to the 4th is t to the 8th, times another t is t to the 9th. So 32 q to the 10th, r to the 8th, s to the 11th, t to the 9th. That would be the simplified version of that. One more, again, we got a bunch of variables, which makes it tougher. We got division, we got multiplication. The first thing I'm going to do here is multiply in the denominator. So I'm actually going to leave the numerator all alone here. I'm just going to leave it as 8t cubed, u to the negative 9th, v to the 9th. But on the bottom, I'm going to do 2 times, that's a 1 right there, so it's just 2. Actually, better yet, let's do this. Let's get rid of this 8 right here. Let's get rid of this 2 right here. And let's think about it like this. 2 goes into 8 4 times. I like to do that first. All right. All right, back to multiplying here across the bottom. Let's do t to the 8th times t to the negative 1st. That's t to the 7th, because 8 plus negative 1 is 7. Then u times u to the negative 8th would be u to the negative 7th, because 1 plus negative 8 is negative 7. And then v to the negative 1st times v to the 0. I mean, v to the 0 is just 1, so this is going to be v to the negative 1st. All right. Now let's keep going here. I've got 4. Let's do t to the 3rd divided by t to the 7th. That's t to the negative 4th, because 3 minus 7 is negative 4. U to the negative 9th divided by u to the negative 7th. That's a little confusing. Negative 9 minus negative 7 is really like negative 9 plus 7. So it's going to be u to the negative 2. And then v to the 9th divided by v to the negative 1st. That's going to be like, 9 minus negative 1, which is like 9 plus 1. So that's v to the 10th. But we're not allowed to use negative exponents. So let's clean this up. We can do that in a couple steps. The 4 is going to stay in the numerator, and the v to the 10th is going to stay in the numerator. But that t to the negative 4th, I'm going to move it to the bottom of the fraction and make it t to the positive 4th. And the same thing with the u to the negative 2. I'm going to move it to the bottom and make it u squared. Because when you're multiplying by a negative exponent, you're really kind of dividing by a positive exponent. Negative exponents mean division. All right, that's all I've got for you. A little bit of a long one today, but I think we needed to see some easier ones and some tougher ones. So this is Algebra 1 in IXL, Section Y, skill number 4.